a basic Photoshop editing for Studio One and Basic Studio classes. So you'll notice my cursor here moving in the middle. Yay! I'm going to come down here and open up the Photoshop program on our computer. Now, those of you working on the laptops, it is a slightly different version, but know that you're looking for something that says PS. Whenever you see PS kind of like this, that means Photoshop. So let's double click on it. And you'll notice that up pops this screen. It's kind of blank right now. So what we need to do is, in the middle is our work area. And I'll explain what all the other tabs and things are. But let's go ahead and open up an image. And then once I have that open, I'll talk about the tabs and all of those things. I've downloaded a basic image that's a little bit off on its color balance so that we have something to work with. Okay, here we go. I'm going to expand it out just a little bit. So what you see here is in Photoshop, at the top you have your drop-down tabs. The big ones that you need to know about are Photoshop, which when you bring that down has, sorry, not Photoshop, but File, that has, like a place that you can open up new, save as, all of that good stuff, or in print from here if we ever needed to. Edit is something I'm going to use a lot, and Image. The rest of these are very important to Photoshop, but for basic Photoshop editing, you really aren't going to need them for our purposes now. So that's kind of the drop-down tab. Over here is our toolbar. The main tool you may need to use is our Move tool and our cropping tool right here. I will demonstrate cropping, and then kind of click on Move. Everything else here is crucial to Photoshop and Photoshop editing and all kinds of things, but for our purposes, it's not necessary to go into that. This is your workspace right here. You'll see the image in there. Back here's our sort of just the general workspace, and then in here is the actual image. Over here are a whole bunch of control panels. For the purposes of our basic Photoshop editing, we're not going to go into it too much. I mean, it's crucial to Photoshop. I mean, it's where you control layers and do all kinds of important things, okay? But since all we're doing is documenting our work, putting it in Photoshop, sizing it appropriately, and adjusting it, say, for example, the color balance being off, we don't need to use that set. So let's look over here. Let's pull up. The first thing we want to do is we've already opened up our image. Name of this image is right up here, file00.jpg. The next thing we want to do is to say to ourselves, is there anything in this image we don't want? Let's pretend that we don't like the edge of this, or there's something about it that we want to get rid of, or we've documented a drawing and it goes too far over, like we've captured some of the background that we don't want. We can select the cropping tool. And you'll notice that when I do that, I get this little kind of funny set of L's. They should look like those L's from beginning drawing class that you use to crop a scene. You'll notice that I click on the upper left-hand side, and I get this little dancing ant line, and I'm going to put it over the whole image. What that does is that brings up some handlebars for me now. See how there's these little squares? And with those, I can grab one and shift it down. So now you'll notice that up at the top, there is a sort of shadowed out part and a highlighted part. What we're seeing is that when I am finished cropping, this part of the image will be gone. It will be removed. It's as though we're removing the parts we do not want. Despite the fact that the composition of this image was fine to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and crop it in a little bit on all four sides. And this one I'm going to bring up a little bit further than the rest on the bottom. And then over to the right, I'm going to bring it over just a little bit. So now you'll notice that I've got a sort of grayed in border. That's all going to get cropped away. So when I want to turn cropping off, you'll notice I'm still on the crop tool. I'm going to come up here and select the Move tool. And this screen comes up and it says don't crop, cancel, or crop. Well, if you don't like what you did, you can hit cancel or don't crop. In our case, let's just go ahead and hit crop. And you'll notice it crops the image in. We're good to go. That's essentially how you remove components on the outer borders that you don't want. I could have zoomed in if I just wanted this picture of the student or his work, and cropped out the rest of it. So just depends on what you need from the image.